Another of many, many videos being recorded this evening. So, this video is an intro to solving absolute values. These are going to be all one step. I think they're all one step. They should all be one step. Well, there's a few steps. But these are the more simple of the absolute values working in, right? This is an introduction. So, first thing is to cover what an absolute value is. If you've not watched my other two videos, an absolute value calculates the distance that the input is from 0. So if I'm calculating the absolute value of x equals 5, if I was to look at that on a number line, and if I was to look at 0 and I was to go in both directions 5, I would actually get two answers, right? Because this distance, if I go to the right, is 5, and I get a different color, and I get 5. But if I go to the left 5 units, then I get -5. So there's two answers. An absolute value will always give, shouldn't say always, will sometimes give two answers. So in this case, what I really like my students to do is I like to separate this out into the positive and the negative version of the outcome. So you can separate this out, and I should probably separate that out more, but what you get is you get x equals 5. So the positive version of this, but then x also equals the negative version. And that's what you get, right? You get -5 and +5. All right, and that should make sense because if I do the absolute value of 5, I get 5. And if I do the absolute value of -5, I also get 5. Because they are both 5 units away from 0. All right, I think it makes sense. I think so. All right. Now, here's an issue. So like I said, the absolute value calculates the distance. So if I get the absolute value of r, if the distance of r, or the distance r is away from 0, can you ever have a negative distance? No. So this is no solution. Because we can't have no negative distance. Can't have it. Not allowed. Doesn't work. No solution. There's no such thing as negative distance. You can walk backwards positive 10 feet, but you cannot walk negative 10 feet. You're just walking positive feet in the wrong direction. All right? So the other thing, so here's the next step. Here's another little different scenario of we have 2, and whenever you have a number, talk to my students about whenever you have your number next to something that means multiplication. So we have 2 times the absolute value of x equals 10. So what a way to envision this is envision this as one thing. Envision this piece as one thing. And before you can do anything to this, you have to cancel out everything around it. So before I can do the arrows and break it apart, before I can break this absolute value apart, I first have to cancel out everything outside of it. And what's outside of it is multiplication. So what is the inverse operation of multiplication? Division. Thank you. Thank you, everybody in here. It is division. So I divide by 2. Cancels out, and I divide by 2. So I'm left with the absolute value of x equals 5. Now, is there anything on the outside of this absolute value function? No, there is not. It's by itself now, just like it was here. And now I look at this. Is this positive? Yes. Can I have a +5 distance? Yeah, I can have a +5 distance. So it happens that it's the same as this. So my answers are going to be these. So my answers are, when I separate it out, I get x equals 5 and x equals negative 5. All right. These are, I guess I should circle up here, these are both of the answers. All right, both of the answers. And a shortcut way of writing that or typing that into a computer would be x equals 5 comma negative 5. Because you get two answers, x equals two things. Okay, now I threw this one in here because it's a little tricky. Normally I would say like up here, oh, I can't have negative distance. Oh, that's a negative 20. I can't have that. But wait a minute. Is there something on the outside of this absolute value which I need to cancel out by using inverse operations? Oh, there is. There's a negative. And how do I get rid of a negative? I've talked about this in my solving equations video, and how to get rid of a negative on something is to multiply everything by -1. So we are going to multiply everything by -1. And what you get is the absolute value of W equals positive 20. Now notice I didn't multiply the -1 into the absolute value. You really need to think about this. This is basically, I shouldn't be putting brackets there, but I'm hoping that helps you recognize that this is one thing. It's not like parentheses where you can distribute through it. You cannot distribute and multiply through the absolute value. You can't do that. These are not parentheses. So I did not multiply the -1 into the absolute value. I multiplied the -1 times this negative, which became a positive, and then I multiplied the -1 times -20, which became positive 20. So, is this good now? Is that all by itself? It's all by itself. So is that positive 20? Can we have positive 20 distance? Heck yes, we can. So we separate it out, and we get W equals 20 and W equals -20. It can equal both, because remember, on a number line, if I'm sitting here at 0 and I go 20 in this direction, I get to 20. But if I go 20 in this direction, I get to -20. All right, two answers. Okay, now this one, is that by itself? No, it is not. It is not by itself. I have something on the outside of this absolute value which I need to cancel out. I need to cancel out subtraction. So I add, and what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So I cancel out. I'm left with the absolute value of B equals 8. And again, really accentuate, be dramatic with your absolute value bars so that you remember and you don't mistake them as ones. All right, they're bars. They're the absolute value bars. Okay, it's by itself now, so we're good. So I separate it out. That's a positive 8. That works. So I separate it out. I get B equals 8, or and I shouldn't say or. Yeah, or, and. It's actually an or. B equals -8. Or and. It's an and. It's an and. So it equals these two things. I plug in a -8, I get out 8. If I plug in positive 8, I get out positive 8. All right. So we got these answers. We got these answers. All right. Is that by itself? No, it is not. So that's the first thing I need to do. So I need to cancel out addition with subtraction. -3, -3. So I'm left with the absolute value of x equals -2. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That doesn't work. That does not work. Does not work one bit at all. Can't have negative distance. Cannot have negative distance. No solution. All right, no solution. Just like up here when it was no solution. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. All right, I got 6 more examples. These ones are going to be a little bit different. So as you notice, everything I canceled out here was on the outside, and I canceled it out first. So a rule so far that we have which I'm going to write up here on the top of this page is, let me grab a blue pen. When it is on the outside, comma, cancel it out first. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, which we have now, because that's inside, so when it is on the inside, cancel it out second. So what I mean by first and second is on the other page, we cancel it out before separating it. Now we're going to first separate it because it's on the inside of the absolute value. We have to separate it out and then we cancel it out. So what this looks like is, first off, we double check, is that a positive 10? Yes, it is. That works. Positive 10 works. So what we do is we separate this out and we get x plus 5 equals 10. But remember, it can also equal negative 10. So x plus 5 equals negative 10. This is always the one. This is the value that we make either positive or negative. So we separate it out. And then secondly, now that it's separated, we can cancel out. And you have to do it for both of these. We're getting two answers. So how do I get rid of addition? Subtraction. Cancels out. Same thing here, right? I got to do the same thing. How do I get rid of addition? Subtraction. Cancels out. Just we get two different answers. So here I get x equals, so here I'm going to get x equals what's 10 minus 5? 5. Over here, I'm going to get x equals negative 15. So now they're not the same like over here where we had 5 and negative 5, or 20 and negative 20, or 8 and negative 8. Now we're getting two really actually very different looking answers. However, they both work. They both work because when I plug them in, if I was to plug in negative 15 in, if I did the absolute value of negative 15 plus 5, I would get, if I simplify that, negative 15 plus 5 is negative 10, and then the absolute value of 10 is 10, right? It checks off. I still get out 10, and when I plug in 5, if I do the absolute value of 5 plus 5, I get the absolute value of 10, which is 10, checks off. They both will give me 10 when I plug it in, okay? It still works. It's just I get two very different looking answers. So same thing over here. Is that a positive 3? Yes, it is. So it will work. So I can separate it out, separate it out. I get r minus 3 equals positive 3, or I get r minus 3 equals negative 3. All right. How do I cancel out subtraction with addition? So plus 3, cancels out. Same thing here, plus 3, cancels out. Uh-oh, cancels out. So over here, I'm going to get r equals, what's 3 plus 3? 6. Over here, this cancel out over here, so when it cancels out, I talked about this with my students, when things cancel out, what I'm really saying is it equaled 0, so I get 0. And again, if you were to double check this, if you were to plug that in for r, if you were to substitute it in for r, if I was to do the absolute value of 0 minus 3, I would get negative 3, and then I would get positive 3. So that works. I still get out positive 3, and same thing with 6. If I did the absolute value of 6 minus 3, that is 3, and then that is a 3. Good. I still get out 3. No matter if I plug in 6 into this, I get out 3. If I plug in 0 into this, I get out 3. All right, it's two values that will give out the same input, the same distance. All right. Next thing, same stuff, except for now we're going to have to do a little division. So again, really important to double check. Is there anything happening on the outside? Right now, this is an intro, so no, there is not. But in the next video, there'll be a bunch of stuff going on. So for now, nothing happening, so I can separate it out. Is this a positive 24? Yes, so it works. So separate out, separate out. I'm going to get 2x equals positive 24. And I'm going to get 2x equals negative 24. How do you get rid of multiplication? You get rid of multiplication with division. So divide by 2, divide by 2. Same thing here, divide by 2, divide by 2. Cancels out, cancels out. So I'm left with x equals 12. Over here, I'm left with x equals negative 12. This one looks pretty similar. That's good to go. So those are both my answers. Again, you can answer how I would type this in is x equals 12, comma, negative 12. That's the quickest way to answer it. Got an issue. So this one, I threw this in here because is a negative 5 good? No. That means no solution. But then I see this negative over here. Well, can I multiply everything by negative 1? No, you cannot. Okay, I did that in one problem. But if you notice the difference, this negative was on the outside. So I get to do that first. But this negative is on the inside. So I can't just multiply everything by negative 1 to get rid of this negative. That's not how it works. So if this is originally negative, after, if you can't cancel out anything on the outside, it doesn't work. So this one would be no solution. All right. Is that a positive 10? Yes, it is. So I can separate it out. So what I'm going to separate out is negative m equals 10 or negative m equals negative 10. Well, this is quick. How do you get rid of a negative? You multiply everything by a negative 1. So multiply everything by a negative 1. Multiply everything by a negative 1. So I just flip the symbol. So m equals positive 10 or m equal, no, that should be a negative 10, or m equals a positive 10. So I just flip the symbols, I multiplied it and just flipped them around. You still get 10, negative 10. It's just now this is negative 10 and that's 10. So my answers would be m equals negative 10 and 10. All right, so over here, is that a positive 100? Yes, it is. Good to go. Is there anything I need to cancel out on the outside of the absolute values? No, there is not. So I'm going to get f of 3 equals 100 or f over 3 equals negative 100. I did that one all in red. Whatever. Well, how do you get rid of division? Multiplication. So times 3 times 3. Cancels out. Same thing here. Times 3. Cancels out. Times 3. So I get f equals positive 300 or f equals negative 300. So those are my two answers. Now I'm going to do one last example. This is the last example of this video. I know this is a long video, but if this is new, I figured there needed to be plenty of examples to go through. The last example is I want to show you one where you have some stuff on the inside and outside, just to make sure you understand what I mean by first this and then second this. So if you have this problem 13, let's say you have the absolute value, let's say you have 2, then absolute value of x minus 3, and then minus 5. So this is not necessarily what my students will be getting when watching this video, but this is an example of what I mean by first inside, or no, first cancel out outside stuff. And then second, I should actually say is to separate. And then third should be cancel out inside stuff. All right, so if these were the steps, first I cancel out the outside stuff. So if I look at this, I have stuff on the outside. Now this is in the same order that you would do in solving equations. So first I cancel out the subtraction. So I would add 5 and add 5. Cancel out that. So I would be left with 2 absolute value of x minus 3 equals 20. I still have something on the outside, so I still need to cancel the outside stuff first. So how do I cancel out multiplication? Because that's what this is with division. So that cancels out. Now I have x minus 3 equals 10. Now, is everything on the outside canceled out? Yes. So my first step is done. Now I separate it. Now I do the separation, and I get x minus 3 equals 10, and x minus 3 equals negative 10. So now I separate it out to be the positive and the negative version of this, and it worked because that's a positive 10, so it works. So now I separated it. Third step, now I cancel the inside stuff. So now I'm going to cancel off the stuff that was in the inside that I can now do. So now, how do I get rid of subtraction? Plus 3 cancels out. Same thing over here, plus 3 cancels out. And I'm left with x equals 13 and x equals negative 7. So first, cancel out the outside stuff. That's on the outside, that multiplication's on the outside. And then you cancel, and then you separate, and then you cancel the stuff that was on the inside. Okay, so a lot of stuff, a lot of information in this video. It was a pretty long video. I do hope it was helpful to those of you who watched it, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch all of it. So thank you, and I'm gonna end the video.